Hello there, it's Gail from Ornamentology. I think I've mentioned about this clock before, but I didn't tell you the story behind it because heaven forbid there isn't a story behind it. When I was a small child, this clock represents my first ever foray into the murky world of going to auction houses. And here it is, it's rather lovely and it's right twice a day. My late father, bless him, he was an absolute nightmare. My mother always said, which was quite funny for her because she wasn't a very sharp comedian, I have to say. She used to say, the trouble with your father, he's got clock constipation, Gail. He can't pass a bloody clock. And it was true, he couldn't. He had a bit of a thing about clocks. He used to take them to bits and mend them. But he never quite got round to this one. And I bought this clock with his instruction. Let me get a bit nearer so you can see it. It's this kind of it's this marble stuff, and it's over plaster, and it's amazing. And you know, I've got the key for it somewhere, and it sits here in my entrance lobby, and it's beautiful. And it's never ever, in the whole time I've known this clock, ever ticked. Never. He was always going to mend it, and he never did. I tried to get it mended and took it to a local clockmaker who told me in no uncertain terms that it was worth absolutely nothing and it would be a waste of my money to get it done. Well, it might not be worth anything to him, but it's quite a good clock for me. So how did I come by it? Well, it was in Bourne in Lincolnshire, because that's where I came from. And let me sit down. It was in Bourne in Lincolnshire, that's where I came from. And I was probably about 5 or 6, I think. And my dad wanted this clock, but he knew that his rival, the bloke who always used to run him up for things, was at the auction. And so he puts me in the front of the auction house, in front of the auctioneer, and he says to me, now this is in the 60s, he said, I don't want to pay more than 2 bob for that clock. Go off you go and get it. So I stood at the front and he gave the auctioneer the nod because he knew him very, very well. Let me show you a bit closer to it, it's very lovely. So off I went on my journey, and I think the bidding started at threepence maybe, and off we went. And we got to 1 and 6, and this other chap, this big burly bloke that was wanting this clock, decided that he said, oh, let the girl have it. He said, you know, this must be and he said, is it your first time bidding, Ducky? And I went, oh yes it is, miss. Yes it is, look, yes it is, sir. And he said, oh, let the girl have it, he said. So anyway, he didn't know who I was. Obviously I was just this little kid. And then when he found out who my father was, he was absolutely livid. So I got this clock when I was about 5 or 6 in the 60s for 1 6. And it stood on the mantel shelf in my parents' house in their best front room. And then when they gave up their house, and my mum moved house, she never liked the thing. She went to throw it out, so I retrieved it, and it stands in my lobby still. And I set it at 8 o'clock because that just looks nice. And it's, you know, it's kind of had its moments. It's a bit battered in places, but I love it, and it just stands there as a symbol of, you know, the ultimate upcycle and recycle, the get round to it clock. And nobody's ever got round to making it tick. And I think, to be honest, it's not ticked for so many years now that I probably wouldn't know how to do it if it had to. But that's the story of the little mantle clock and my first foray ever into the kind of weird and wonderful world of the auction house. And I've been buying things at auction ever since, really, from cars to houses to all sorts of things. And when the bug bites you, it bites you. If you've never been, for goodness sake, go. And if you get an itchy nose, you won't end up buying an aspidistra stand. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. And if you like these little rambles about random stuff, hit that subscribe button wherever it is, and I can send these little anecdotes to your inbox. Anyway, thank you for your time today. It's lovely to hear from you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye now.